New Jersey has more toxic waste sites than any other state in the country. Governor Florio, why is that?
Well, most people don't remember, but up until the 1950s, New Jersey was really the center of the chemical industry and the petrochemical industry. We had refineries all through the state. And in those days, there were no environmental laws, so people just disposed of their waste products wherever they wanted to, taking things out to the woods. Well, those woods became the sites for housing projects and so on. So all these things are residual leftovers from the days when chemicals and petrochemicals were being produced in the state of New Jersey.
You've had a long history of environmental issues and your concerns, and when you were in Congress, you were the author of the Superfund legislation back in 1980. Have you been satisfied with the way things have turned out?
Well, obviously it's a big improvement over what it was. We had no laws whatsoever. People just randomly disposed of things. I can remember down in Camden, the State Street dump was a place where I remember seeing trucks pull up, open the spigots, just turn loose all kinds of waste products. We've challenged that, we've changed that. You can't randomly do that. Nowadays you do that sort of stuff, you go to jail. But cleaning up the messes is still a job that's not done yet.
How did you open up the minds of people to understand the consequences?
My congressional district had more Superfund sites than any other congressional district in the nation because of the chemical industry and the refineries that were there. So we had to get about the job of cleaning up because our air and our water and our land had been so polluted.
Now the Environmental Protection Agency has taken a number of those Superfund sites off the priorities list. Now one would think that if they haven't been cleaned up, they still should be on the list. Tell us about the qualifications and what it takes and what the federal standards are versus the state standards. Are they stricter?
Well, these federal standards are for Superfund sites. Now these are the sites that are not just a little bit polluted. These are sites that are imminent and substantial hazards to people's health and the environment. So the standards that get on the Superfund lists are much more stringent, and we have more things being done there. The difficulty, of course, in Washington now is that the Trump administration is not environmentally sensitive at all. They're trying to rein in some of the things we've done to try to get these sites cleaned up inappropriately, and I suspect the country is starting to wake up to the environmental hazards for this type of watering down of standards.
I guess it all comes down to funding and who's going to pay for it and who should pay for it. Now, originally, the polluters were expected to pay for the cleanup. As far as I can remember, what has changed now? Are we, the taxpayers, paying most of the bill over the last 2.5 decades or so?
Well, the cardinal principle of the law was the polluter should pay. Accordingly, the law was created when we wrote it, assessing a relatively small, for them, fee on the chemical companies, the petrochemical companies, oil companies, and so on. That expired, and then during the period of time when Newt Gingrich was in charge of the Congress, the bill was killed. And so the polluters are no longer paying, the general taxpayer is paying, which is terrible, but it's the case. Trying to put that assessment back on those companies is not going to be an easy thing to do, but really should be done.
Having been there in the beginning, as you were, what do you think needs to be done now going forward as we become more aware of climate change and all of the pollutants and the way this is affecting all of us and the way we live today?
Well, we have a good system if the system is executed. Something called the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act said this is what you have to do if you have hazardous materials. You can't just randomly just dispose of it. You've got to make sure that it's taken care of and protecting the land and the citizens. So the law is good, and the combination of Superfund, which was to clean up the old sites, and RECRA, this new law, to say we should have no new sites being created by preventing bad practices, that should take it. But you have to have an administration, particularly in Washington, that believes in the law and is rigorous in enforcing the law. We don't have that right now.
Governor Florio, thank you very much for making all of us more aware of this as a concern here in our state in New Jersey, still with so many Superfund sites.
Thank you.